Okay. So first of all, I'd like to say a big thank you for everybody showing up this morning, and I hope that you're all staying well and safe. So I will refer to some notes from time to time, just so that I can remember what, if I'm quoting a statistic or something like that, and also because I could talk to you for hours about what I do, and I like to try and keep like focused, otherwise just won't get it all in because it's such a huge topic. I'll just give you a little bit of background about me and Katie, who's my business partner, and we are founders of Yoginis Yoga. So both Katie and myself are British Wheel of Yoga teachers, and it's the only school of yoga in the UK that is recognised by Sports England. We are children's yoga teachers, and we've been teaching yoga to children since 2006, which is an unregulated activity for children. So when we decided to branch out and begin to train educators, practitioners, sports coaches, NHS physical activity leads, anybody really that works with children, we needed to get some kind of assurance for the industry that we were in. So we went with an organisation called the Children's Activity Association, which they lobby Parliament for lots of things to do with children's activities, and swimming babies, rubber tops, little kickers, diddy dance, little voices, baby ballet, all of those. They're all registered with that association to show that you are compliant, industry compliant, and that your programs are safe to teach children. So that's where that quality assurance comes from, and we're like monitored through them, through our membership. And we also have our training programs are CPD certified. Katie and myself have served as regional officers for the British Wheel of Yoga for Lancashire and Greater Manchester and the Isles of Man. Don't go there with that one. Why the Isle of Man is connected to the Greater Manchester, I don't know, it's a mystery, but we were. So that's really our credentials. And then obviously we've had years of CPD training, because that's what you have to do to keep up your teaching status and all those kind of things. And we delved into baby yoga and pregnancy and all the other different types of modules and other like training in biomechanics and neuro-science, special needs training, children's mental health, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of, it's like yourselves as teachers, you know, you're forever the student because you're constantly learning. So that's really a background. So hopefully you'll have a little bit of confidence about us as yoga teachers, about that we are teaching safely. That's our main priority. That was what was drummed into us, and you know that we are accountable to somebody for what we do. So that's us basically in a nutshell. But one of the things that I was talking to you about, Stuart, is it's Mental Health Awareness Week this week, and in Mental Health Awareness Foundation, they've chosen kindness as their theme, which fits in very well with Yoginis Yoga, because that is part of our mission. So our mission is to make happy, healthy, content children, but also part of that mission is to spread kindness. And so often when you see us at a conference or an exhibition, or sometimes at shows, you might find us on like an innovation stage or something like that. We tend to try and get people to sign up to our, can you all see that? Is it back to front on your screens? I'm not sure. I pledge to spread kindness every day. And we get your photograph taken with that. So we've got it recorded that you spread kindness. And we've also got some of our 3 monkeys. This is how we spread kindness, but this is also how we co-regulate with the children, and how we get them to think about their behaviour and their actions towards themselves and others. And that's through our what we call the 3 kind monkeys, which is kind hearts, kind words, kind thoughts. That's free to download off our website, which I'll give Stuart all the links to everything, and you can get them from him. And we ask you to download that, put it up in your classroom, and get the children participating in it. And what you'll find is they'll start using it themselves and with each other. And we just use that in the class. We use it at the beginning of every class to say, this is what standard of behaviour really is expected of them. We never use it in a way of saying, oh, was that kind? We just say, if we see something or hear something that we think isn't right, we just say, shall we just all remind ourselves of the promise before we do this task or before we move on, just as a little reminder. And you find that that's really all that children need, just to be reminded about spreading kindness. But some facts that are brought out about mental health in children, especially young children, from the Mental Health Foundation is, we all have mental health. Yeah, so sometimes it's good mental health and sometimes it's ill mental health. And there's various factors that can depend on that. So where we have good mental health, it depends on our ability to form relationships, what our environment's like, how we think about ourselves, whether we feel successful, all those kind of things, how we perceive the people around us. All these factors depend on whether we have good mental health or whether we have ill mental health. So our social well-being and emotional well-being is really important. And because we also base our programmes on latest research to do with neuroscience, we also know that when a brain is stressed, no learning takes place. So it's really, really important, even within a classroom environment, that children feel safe. So what do I mean by that? So they could be in a stress situation because you've asked them to read something out loud and they don't feel confident about doing it. And so straight away, their bodies will go, the central nervous system will kick in and the breathing will become laboured, yeah? And they might sweat a little bit. Now, some children, you will find this when you sit down and notice, you'll begin to notice different children's responses. Some children's responses will go into like what you call the possum, which is the freeze mode, which will be, and they'll just be like that, and you'll be talking to them and they won't be taking anything in because the mind has just shut down. It's like, play dead. It's kind of like that. Or they might kick off, or they'll use distraction techniques because the brain doesn't realise that it's not a threat against life because it doesn't perceive that. It just knows through the sensory receptors that it's in danger. So that's why it will make that's why some kids will, like the behaviour will change, basically. So when that happens, the brain is just looking for survival. It's looking for a way out, whatever that way is, whether it's, distraction or being able to get out of that particular environment, whatever it is, that's what it does. So in order, for a child to respond to anything, then any instruction you want to give it, then you've got to take it out of that fight or flight situation. And you can do that through using breathing techniques. So that's why we bring in breathing techniques into the sessions. So statistics wise, 1 in 5 adults have a diagnosed mental health disorder and 1 in 10 children have a diagnosable mental health disorder. So they're saying that's roughly three children in every classroom. And that can be, something from very mild to something mega. And 50% of all mental health problems manifest themselves by the age of 14. So we can see really, as educators and people who are involved with children, their social emotional well-being is just as important as their academic attainment. And previous to COVID, in September of 2020, which it's actually been put on hold now, we've been watching a bill that was going through Parliament for the last couple of years to say that Ofsted would be coming in and they would be looking for ways that you were supporting a child's emotional health and well-being alongside academic attainment. Now that's been put on the by, but with what we're faced with now as regards a pandemic, I think when children come back, yes, we have had vulnerable children in the past within the classroom, but now we might have vulnerable children that we didn't consider vulnerable before because of what maybe that they're experiencing, even if they're coming from a supportive background, because a lot of parents are in that fight or flight situation where it could be, you know, financially, they don't know what they're returning to. Are they returning to anything? Are they going to lose the homes? They've got all of those things. You know, then there might be relationship breakdowns, which might have never ever have come up before because they wouldn't have found themselves in these situations. So there's lots of multiple things that, even coming from a stable household, can suddenly make a child become vulnerable. So they're coming back into that classroom. Then they're coming back to a classroom that's not normal, or the not way of normal, because of all the new guidelines, which keep changing constantly. And nobody's really sure exactly what they are, and everybody's left up to their own devices. So that's creating a lot of anxiety with the adults that they're coming to. So to create a safe space is really important. And that's one of the things that we do in our programme. And that's why we find children take to our programme very easily. And it's all inclusive. So as long as they are able-bodied, special need children can participate. There's nothing different that needs to be done for these children. Maybe you might go a little bit of a slower pace, or you'll know how to include them because you know how to do that normally anyway and all your other things, so you just adapt it slightly for that. But as regards its structure and its routine, you don't have to change anything. I work in a special needs school in their enrichment class, and I do that with some of the children there, and it's just amazing how these children progress through this program, and how they're actually they're able to meet some attainments that they don't often do in class, because it's the way they see the program is completely different. They don't see it as a learning activity, even though we're actually giving them a lot of tools and skills for going forward. So our program is unique in the sense where we know nobody is teaching yoga in the way that we are training teachers to deliver it. It's based on the educational syllabus, so it meets all government requirements, and it also demonstrates to Ofsted proper use of sports premium, and you can also use some other budgets to fund the training as well. It's ongoing. So it's supported by us, so you've got constant support by us through an e-learning platform. All your resources are on there. You get CPD updates. There's a progress tracker, so if you wanted to track the progress of children to demonstrate or evidence anything, there's things like that. There's other resources on there for you to use. Also, like I say, it's based on routine and structure. So it's a grab and go pack, and as you go through the levels, you can mix and match these what would call well, we call them asanas, postures and other activities within them, so that you can then, when you feel confident, you can begin to bring about your own programs if you wanted to aim it at a particular thing or a theme or anything like that. But at the beginning, you're just following the same routine and structure, so it doesn't require any planning. So you don't even have to think about it. Sessions we recommend are between 30 and 45 minutes, because that's the attention span of the children. They've had enough by then. And believe it or not, even though it might seem very, very simple, and we don't really focus a lot on form, but on fun, they're actually exhausted by the end of it, because it's a way of the children releasing the tension in the body that they're not aware that they're still holding on to. So in our programs, we start off on the physical, and we teach you mainly about the physical side of yoga, because that's what most people feel confident with. Then as you progress to level 2, you'll learn about the central nervous system, and we'll start to bring in more breathing exercises. Then as you go on to level 3, we'll talk about the mind, the body, so the brain, the body and the breath connection, and how those three areas of ourselves work together, or sometimes can work against each other. So we explain that, and also how our program impacts on brain development. So that also impacts on their learning. So, and then we will move on to mindfulness, and then we'll show, or whatever it is that you want to call it, getting in the zone. If you don't want to call it that, that's fine. So then we move into that, and then you can teach the children these techniques, because by then they're also familiar with all those things that you've been teaching them. So they're able to then grasp the idea of mindfulness and be able to use those skills and tools going forward. And this all helps their mental health and well-being. And like we say, it's based on our, you know, kindness, basically. All those things keep coming back to that one thing about being kind in your thoughts, in your actions, and in your words, and you know, and being mindful of that gives you that pause before you do, so it enables them to make better choices. So once you have done the training and you printed off the resources, you've just got your pack and you're ready to go. So that's why we call it a Train Today, Teach Tomorrow program. There's lots of benefits of those. I'll just get my list, because this is like generic benefits. So let me raffle some of these off. But if you Googled it on the internet, you'll find loads of benefits for children. So you could always pick out what you want. So like we say, they feel included and accepted. It's a safe place to express themselves because it's a non-competitive environment. So they're not looking outwards at others thinking, I can't do that or whatever. We tell them everybody is unique and different. Everybody's body is a different shape or size. We're not going to look the same. There'll be postures sometimes that I say, I can't do that anymore. My body just doesn't want to do it. If I'm honest, it's too old. So I just say I can't do that, so I'll just get somebody else to demonstrate it. So don't think, oh, I can't, I'm not flexible enough. You know, we all lose our flexibility as we get older and things like that. If that was mine, I thought I'd turn my notifications off. Sorry about that. Yeah, so you don't have to be able to do everything, so don't worry about that. You just get the children to demonstrate that posture. That's what I do. It promotes tolerance and respect for others, because we don't have anybody making fun. Again, you know, we're all going to be different. Some of us can do this, some of us can't do that, but everybody will be able to achieve something, if not most things, in the class. It improves the concentration and the focus, which makes them ready to learn. It increases bone density. It helps to build muscles. It will increase the flexibility, because believe it or not, even though I think sometimes, oh, you know, how will I fare, because, you know, I'm getting older now. I've noticed a decline in children's physical abilities, which I find quite alarming. Just a simple one, where I ask them to put the hands flat on the floor when we're in a cat position, and because they're so used to holding controls and things like that, some of them can't actually spread the fingers out flat, because, you know, we know our muscles have a memory, and they'll stay in a certain position unless we get them to move in different ways. Balance and coordination, so that helps them, you know, to be aware of the space around them and things like that. They also develop body and breath awareness, which helps them to manage emotions. But they're having fun, so it's like adopting a new healthy lifestyle without them actually realising that they are. And what we find is that they actually take this programme home and they start to, it becomes theirs, which is really what we want them to do. We want these skills and techniques, and we want this programme to become theirs. So it becomes something that they do when they're out of school and they take it home. Often they'll try and engage other siblings and parents. Sometimes we do get video evidence of that. Parents will say, send it into school, or if it's in nursery, they'll send that in and say, this is what we've been doing at home. So it also helps them to think outside the box. They grow in confidence, and there's no equipment. You don't need any equipment. And like we say, they can stay in their own space, so it's ideal for an activity for them to do going back. It's something that you can, it is interactive. So if you do decide to take our training and you want to do it on a Zoom like this with the children, we do suggest that you don't do a video and record it, because you can't really see what the children are doing. We'd suggest that you do it as an interactive over a video call like this, you do like a Zoom, or what other safe ways you have, because I know there will be some safeguarding that you'll have to think about in that. So and if I was to take individually some of the things that we teach as regards the postures, so like we don't just do yoga postures as well. I mean, we call them yoga postures, but you know, there's loads of like if you think about gymnastics, if you think about others, people who work with retained reflexes, a lot of the exercises that they do, they all come back to yoga postures. That this is where they're all taken from. And like say for instance, when we do gorilla, this is based on an emotional freedom tapping technique, where we would get them to tap on the other chest here. So just an example of that is when I was a little boy, he was a bit anxious because he didn't like being late, and he ended up being late because some choices of his own, he ended up being late, and he come into class and then he got anxious because he was late and he thought he'd missed things and he was getting himself all worked up. So we just kept going with the program because I knew gorilla was coming up. So when we got to gorilla, you know, it's working with the central nervous system, the breathing, and then it's working with an emotional freedom tapping technique, which helps to reset the brain. So when you tap on certain reflexes, either on the head or in the body or on certain parts, it sends a signal to the brain and it helps to reset it. So this is what gorilla does. So even though a lot of our things just look like, you know, they're just being an animal or they're being a shape, they all have a reason for why they're doing them. Even something like penguin, where you're getting them to walk round on the heels, because we know that the feet are the foundation, and you know, all these things will help with good posture, which are issues that we see in children today. All these different things. Let me choose another one. Yeah, spider's a good one. So even though it's just simple, it's part of what we call the Pavavan Muktasana series, which is anti-rheumatic, because it's written in Sanskrit. Yoga is written in Sanskrit. And so if anybody is a Sanskrit scholar and I've not pronounced it right, I'm sorry. And so just doing this with the hands, yeah, these things, some of the children find that really hard to do that for a certain amount of time and fast. So, you know, this helps to build up the muscles in the fingers and the arms. Great for holding a pencil. Just very simple things like that we find they even struggle in that way. All you need is a clean, safe area. It's suitable for any size or group. So I do anything from a whole class of 30 to maybe half a class of 15 down to a class of 6 or 4. It doesn't really matter. You can do one-to-ones if you feel that you need to. It's so adaptable. It can be done for anything. It works with releasing a lot of the hormones in the body, like oxytocin, which is that love hormone, so it feels good. Dopamine, feel good factor. It works with all those things. It is what I call it, it's not just holistic, it's holistic. It's a holistic approach, because it just affects the whole of the body. And the more you start to look into the body and the brain and everything like that and see how it works, you'll find how interconnected it all is. And that's why it's such a good exercise or activity to do. And we've tried to do it so that if you've got no interest in yoga, it doesn't matter, because it won't appear like a general yoga class. And if you've got no knowledge, or it doesn't matter what your ability is, you'll still be able to deliver this, because it's that simple. Even how old were they at the time? They might have been 3 and 5. They actually delivered the program themselves when they went into a holiday club, and they noticed that they were watching something off YouTube, and they said, "What's that?" And they said, "It's yoga." And they went, "That's not yoga. We'll show you what yoga is. My nana does yoga." And they just did what they could remember and what their favourite was, and they just taught the nursery, so much so that they came on board then and said, "I think we'd like to do your training," because that's how it empowers the kids in that way. So don't think that they're not going to take these tools on board, that they're not going to have an effect on them. They will do, and they'll take from it what they need at that time. And you only need for them to have any effect on them just once a week, 1 30-minute class a week. You will start to see results, I can guarantee you, after at least 4 to 6 weeks. You'll start to notice a difference in some of the children. And then you'll be able to remind them of things that you know work for them. And when you see them in a, you know, struggling with something, you say, oh, do you remember that? Or like if you think, oh, they're all a little bit hyper coming in from play, I need to get them focused. One teacher said that. She thought, I'll get them all in tree for a little bit. She just got them all to come stand by the chairs in the class, all do a tree just for an X amount of minutes. Then when she felt she got them focused and settled, she sat them down. She said, best piece of writing they've done all afternoon. So you will be able to take that into areas, into the school day. Just that'll become second nature to you. You'll probably start teaching us then in what areas you've been able to use it, because you know you're there on the front line, if you like, and you're seeing these things. But if there is anything that you feel you need a bit of support with as coaches, you come to us, and you know we'll help you. And if we don't have anything at the time, we'll create something, or we'll come up with something, because what we have in our training at the moment is just the tip of the iceberg, and there's just massive of stuff. It's just enormous as to what, you know, we can bring into this program and give to the children. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll unmute everybody now.
Right.
I'll unmute you 1 second. Okay, there you go. So I think now they've been unmuted.
Yeah. So does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask that maybe I might not have covered, or you want me to go over something again? Or, I mean, obviously all our information is on the website, but off you go.
Right, I'll ask a question. So you said it was pupil sports premium related, so the school can then pay for this through their sports premium, is that right?
Yes, it is, yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's my question.
All right, great. Yeah, and that demonstrates to Ofsted as well, proper use of sports premium, because it's CPD certified and you're being upskilled, and because you'll get membership to the Hive included in that, it's on that your training is being supported constantly, because throughout the year you will receive CPD updates through that membership and resources. So it's really good demonstration of that resource. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Anybody else got any more questions?
Yeah. So are you delivering this training now in this kind of lockdown scenario?
Yes.
You are doing it now?
Yes. We've had online training for a couple of years now, which we find is very successful. We have great feedback from it, I think we've got some testimonials on the website as well. On there, yeah. It's in the online training. There's video demonstrations. It's like a voiceover. It's not, you're not just having to read everything. It's, you know, voice recorded. There's photos. There's little activities. There's a mixture of things in there to make it so it's not boring. It's broken down into sections, so you don't have to do it all in one go. You can dip in, dip out, because we realise that, you know, people are time poor. So yeah, you can access the online training, like I say. You can purchase it online. If it's just for one of you, you can go onto the shop and purchase it online immediately. Or if it was for, say, a group of you, the school wanted a few coaches, a few teachers to take it on. If you just was to contact us through the enquiry form on the site, then we would sort out a group booking for you. That wouldn't be a problem. Yeah.
Thanks.
What I'll do is I'll send out the email, the website address as well to everybody, so everyone's got that. And I'll also put in as well the 2 documents from the Youth Sports Trust as well, because that might start to link up some ideas we've heard today from yourself, and obviously with the info on your website as well. I'll just want to jump in there really quickly. I don't think we want more questions. I think what really impresses me is that yoga is something that's really hard that I've found upscale, but this program allows it to be upscaled throughout the whole school. And we've got one yoga teacher, and we work in a school, so there's no way we can have our one teacher impacting all those children. And this is the first time I've seen something that can do that on such a big scale. It's really exciting to me.
Yeah, because I was asked that years ago when I first started, and that's why we came up with this program, because the original programs that are taught, like you're saying then, Stuart, to teach yoga, it's not possible to do that. It's, unless you're interested in it and you've got some kind of knowledge, it's hard for you to follow those programs, and that's why we've done this. Just talking about that, we are actually in over 160 schools already at the moment throughout the UK and Ireland, and that is growing. So we've reached well over 50,000 children with our program, and we do get asked to take it internationally, but maybe, I don't know if it's stubbornness, we want to break the UK market, and we need your help with that. So the more we get it into the schools and we feel confident with that, then yes, we would we would then take up international trades offer and go abroad when it's safe to do so. But yes, that's why we did what we did, because the demand for us, like yourselves, you can't fulfill it. So we thought we need to enable educators to be able to do this. And your best place, because you know those children better than we do, coming in once a week or just once a term, once a year, or things like that. Do you know what I mean? So you can give these skills to the children, and we do teacher wellbeing as well. But we haven't got that online at the moment. It's something that we are working towards, hopefully, with the fact that a designated teacher can actually lead those wellbeing programs as well. So we don't have to do that. We're just providing these things for schools, basically, and nurseries.
Yeah, I was going to say, because this starts on at age 2.
Yes, starts in early years foundation. It goes all the way up to year 6, and then we have been asked to start looking at secondary education, which has had to be put on hold at the moment because of the situation. But I've just been doing lots of research and looking at ways we can help teenagers. Yeah.
Susan, Steph's just asked in the chat box there. If there's any examples of resources, is that something that's on the website?
Yes, you can have a look at the demo. It'll give you a demo of what's online and things like that. Yeah, as to the pack. And and the other thing that we've also got, we've got free resources on our website. One of them is the kindness teller, and that's based on our program. And this is something you could send home with the kids. In fact, our schools that we're still in touch with, they sent our packs out as PSHE before lockdown because we knew it was coming. And we have a game on there as well. So if kids don't have access to a printer, if they don't have access to a tablet computer or phone, if they've got YouTube on the smart TV, they can still play our game on YouTube. So because we have a YouTube channel where they can do that. So we've tried to do it so that they've got something that they can do. Yeah.
That's good. Any more questions? No?
You know what, if you think of something at a later date, just email us. Just email us if you've got any questions, and we'll respond to anything like that. Or if you want any, look at the website. But if you still feel that you want something that you want to take to your head teacher or senior lead teachers or anything like that, to help you making the decision, just ask us and we'll get something together for you. It's not a problem.
That's brilliant. Thank you.